Ever heard of Liar's Poker? Liar's Poker is an American bar game which combines statistical reasoning with bluffing. It's played with the 8-digit serial numbers on American dollar bills, ignoring any letters. The objective is to guess how often a particular digit will appear on the serial numbers being played by all the players in the game. Now, it sounds a lot like Liar's Dice, and that's because it is a lot like Liar's Dice. But now, the card game Bluffin comes to us from designer Steve Baldwin, the same guy that created the award-winning Megiddo game. Please be sure to look up Megiddo in the show notes. It's a wonderful game. Well, Steve has adapted Liar's Poker to a deck of cards. In the design of these cards, Steve has eliminated some of the concerns about randomness, and he levels the playing field through the use of 2 cards with 4 digits each. He has also introduced wild cards to the deck, so these have 3 little stars on them that can represent 3 of any digit. And in the same box are money cards. And these money cards are in denominations of 1 and 2, which is a good proportion for the betting that goes on in the game. The deck of 60 money cards is a lot easier to handle, I think, than poker chips. And definitely a lot less painful than real legal tender if you lose. To begin the game, these money cards are distributed to all the players evenly so that everybody starts with the same amount. Again, it's an even playing field at the beginning of the game. And then each player gets 2 cards, and that gives them 8 digits, which they can use to play with during the game. Players can decide before the game starts how much each payout's going to be, the value of each challenge or each bid. I guess the default would be 1 money, but it's also possible to make that as high as you want, within reason. The more you play the game, the better feel you'll get for the value of each round. The digits are ranked with the 1 as an ace, the highest value, and then the 0 is a 10, and then so on numerically down to 2 as the least value. So the regular gameplay goes like this. The player to the left of the dealer begins by evaluating the numbers on their cards, looking at the probabilities, and launching a bet. Now in this case, I've got 3 5s, and so that's a pretty good place for me to start, just at 3 5s and see what everybody else's reaction is going to be, and then I can sort of gauge a little better about who else has 5s here. And of course, that next player can bid on a higher quantity of 5s or a higher quantity of any higher number, so they could bid on 6 6s, and then my 5s suddenly have to be reevaluated. I do happen to have 2 6s here, so we'll see how it all falls together by the time it gets back to me. Now, the other option that a player has on their turn is to challenge that previous bid. So if it got around to me and I said there's 9 6s, then the next player can say, well, I don't believe there's 9 6s, so I'm going to challenge that. Once all the players challenge that bid, then they reveal the cards and evaluate the result. However, if the next player does not think the challenge is valid, their opportunity is to raise the bid. Again, it's either a higher quantity of the same value or a higher quantity of a higher value. But finally, once everybody has challenged and we reveal the cards to see if that highest bid rings true, if the challenge was correct and the bid was too high, there's not that many of whatever that given number was, then the bidder has to pay all the challengers. If, however, the bid was true and it was equal to or higher quantity of that particular denomination, then each of the challengers have to pay the bidder. That is the amount that was agreed to at the beginning of the round. If all the players agree, that agreed to amount for each round can be changed between the rounds. Now, eventually somebody's going to run out of money, and then they're going to be out of the running. They're out of the game. Once one player has successfully won all the money from the other players, then the game is over. Now, you could probably establish different end game conditions if you'd like, but that's fundamentally what happens. So the point of the game is win all the money. Now, the little rule booklet here includes an alternative called pot building. In the basic game, as I just described, once all the cards are revealed, then there's a payout. Either the bidder pays all the challengers or the challengers all pay the bidder. But in this pot building alternate set of rules, all the payouts go into a pot, and at the beginning of every round, all players have to ante up. So that pot grows from the ante, and also every time the challengers win, the bidder's contribution grows the pot even more. So that pot can be substantial. So finally, when somebody wins the bid, they take the pot. Now, potentially, if one player's been losing rather consistently but still has enough money to ante up each time, they always have the opportunity, the potential of winning the pot. So there's a lot of incentive to stay in the game even if you're not doing too well. So as it says on the box, a gambling game combining probability, strategy, and psychology with bluffing. It is all that. As I said, I'm a fan of Liar's Dice, but there's one thing I really like about bluffing over that is the fact that it's quiet. Rolling dice on a table in a public venue can get pretty noisy, and I don't want to be annoying to the people next to me. This is virtually silent, and so I really like that aspect of bluffing over Liar's Dice. Now, being the game historian, I have to mention a few related games from days gone by. A card-based version of Liar's Poker was published in 1967 by a company called TAG, T-A-G. They published several other card games during that decade, but I couldn't find too much information on them. Another card version was published in 1970 by Sunbow, another company I know nothing about. Apparently printed their own money, their own play money for the game. And the Spare Time people, the same folks that made the famous Spare Time Bowling, they came out with a version of Liar's Poker in 1965, but it was dice. And Bluffin is available from NewVenture Games. Just go check out our website, and you put it in the search term there, Bluffin, and this will come up. You'll be able to buy yourself a copy. I ain't bluffing. Be sure to play every day. Say, my friend, if you like that money card idea that we include in Bluffin', we are also producing a set of money cards which are a kind of generic currency that you can use in a bunch of different games. These cards are very durable. They're shuffleable if you wanted to do that for some reason. They're very easy to count and sort. One thing that bothers me about using money coins for games is that the stacks fall over and cards aren't going to fall over. You can use these to substitute for flimsy paper money in games. You can also use them for RPG. It's also an interesting tool to help teach your kids about how money works and different denominations and so on. So there's a lot of uses for these money cards. And so if you're interested, there's a link in the show notes here to check out our first edition, which are these generic money cards. So that's money cards from NewVenture Games.